Collective. Today we are getting into the weekly message, okay? And it should be for 5/9 or 5/10/2026. With that being stated, okay, it actually should be 5/10, excuse me, we got 5/10, 2026. The message that came to me is, are you bearing fruit? Is your garden bearing fruit? Something that can sustain you, something that you can eat, something that can sustain your descendants, okay? I am channeling this message with the guidance of Archangel Michael, okay? The first card that came out was the Tower, and it flew out unapologetically. I feel the reason why this card came out was because in order to build something new, in order to build a foundation, a garden, right, where you are establishing the rest of your life off of this garden, there had to be moments, not even moments, I feel like a season of deep destruction to what no longer served you, okay? And in creating something new, you had to lose everything that was false. And for many of you in this process, your entire life was built on what was false and what sought to keep you in bounds, sought to keep your, family lineage in bondage. And you didn't want to keep playing out those same cycles. You knew that it wasn't bearing fruit. You knew that the cycles that were, forced essentially on your family line through trauma and things like that, was only leading you to death. It was actually leading you to a death much sooner than you should have ever been experiencing death. You were not able to enjoy life. And in this, I think that tower moments can be very destructive, right, for someone's psyche, because we are beings that love to have control, and a control of what's going to happen in our life, what's going to happen next. And there's been this deep surrender that the divine has been asking, those who are waking up, who've woken up, to really let go and let God. And in this process, you felt like, what, I was losing loved ones, I was losing family, I was losing friendships, I was, even losing aspects of myself. But all these aspects were born out of falsehoods, not truth. Okay? And when you have created a foundation, your life has been established on falsehoods, it doesn't allow you to operate from a state of clarity. And when you don't have clarity, you don't know what you actively want to do next. And I wasn't even going to do a reading today. I was going to do one for the collective weekly at all, but this was something that was given to me, and I was like, it was so beautiful. It's like, I need to come to the library and the park so I can record this message for you guys, because I don't like to be stingy with the insights from the divine. So it was going to be an inspirational message, but Spirit was like, do this as the collective. So I feel like, whatever season you're going through right now, it's being, excuse me, whatever season you have been going through, it's the season that is being built, right? It's building your foundation after your tower moment. This tower moment may have left some of you homeless. This tower moment may have left some of you without support, even leaving jobs that did not serve you, connections that were disempowering to you, and even disempowering ways. You're leaving all of that behind. You've left that behind, right? I don't feel like the tower, this is something that is like, oh, like it's actively happening. Now, if you're looking at the circumstances in your life, right, when you're building from ground zero, it may seem as it's a tower moment. My dear, you are not in the tower moment. The tower moment has already happened. You are now in the building of the foundation of what comes next. This is where you're building your masterpiece, okay? And as I said, that was 444. You are building your masterpiece. flow, and you've trusted the divine with such deep levels of trust, even if you looked at them at times with side eyes, kind of what's going on, because when everything is being stripped away from you, even coping mechanisms that have been unhealthy for you, you're now in this voyage of self-discovery. And it makes sense with the six of swords coming up. You've left the old behind and you are venturing to what's new. And in venturing what's new, you don't necessarily know what's ahead fully. You may have glimpses of your destination in sight, but you can't see the full picture. And it's okay to be in this voyage season within your life where you're exploring, because as you are exploring, you're actively getting to live for the first time, getting to know the depths of who you are, and sightseeing. I'm getting the word sightseeing. You're getting to sit here and say, you know what, I like this location, I don't like this location, I like this experience, I don't like this experience. And some of you may have been weary from the journey, and it's okay, because it's been a really intense journey collective that you've been going through, but you have made it to safety, right? It cannot get worse than what you've experienced, and it cannot get worse than where you've been and even where you are, because you are building, right? So this is a certain level of comfort. And when I say that, that it can get worse, these physical circumstances are a reflection of what is going on internally, right? And in leaving the old behind, you are leaving parasitic energies behind. You are leaving, parasitic behaviors behind. You are leaving everything that tried to keep you shackled to a life that was never meant for you. You are allowing yourself to taste the sun for the first time, and the sun to bless you as you voyage on this journey, purifying you in the process, to get to the point where you are at the Three of Wands. You see, this is where I feel like a lot of us collective are at. It's the man who knows, right? This is speaking to a commerce card. He's looking over to what's coming to him, right? The ships, they belong to him. This is where your fruitfulness, your abundance, you may not be able to see it clearly because you're far away looking at it, and it still hasn't reached you yet, because it's not time, it's not the season. Everything is in divine timing. I cannot tell you how much divine timing has been coming up for me, and just really trusting in the Creator that everything will flourish when it's meant to. And so you know that there's wealth coming to you. You know that there's abundance. You know that there's stability. You know that there's peace coming to you. And you're watching over it. And now I feel like I'm being told to say it. I had this dream and this vision, and I recorded this other message, but I feel like I'm not even going to upload it, because I feel like it's meant to be stated in this particular video. If you haven't reached your destination, it's because you are not ready yet, okay? You are still going through a beautiful refinement process, and in this, I do know that certain even aspects of myself are no longer operating from the wounded self, but they are operating from a disbelief, okay? And I am amazing at what I do, okay? I am the most and bestest version, the most authentic and most fulfilled version of myself operating in this work, spiritual consulting, okay? I used to call myself a shaman, but I don't call myself a shaman anymore. And it's because I'm beyond that. I'm not limited to a title of a shaman, and spiritual consultant isn't even that either. I am just Mama Rain y la Tierra. That is my God-given name, and I operate from that standpoint of divinity. So I say all that to say that, I was shown this dream where I'm trying to jump to different heights, and in trying to jump to different heights, I was blindfolded. I knew that there was wisdom in not trying to access those heights just yet, right? I feel like we're in a season where your dreams, your soul's mission, your soul's purpose is going to be looking for you, okay? As you live life. And it doesn't mean that you stop doing what you love, but you're not looking to reach a particular type of height. You're just enjoying the journey. And the journey is really what builds us, right? And so in this message of, are you bearing fruit? You are going through still tests, because there are tests that are happening, that are arising, okay? And those that are meant to come to the forefront in their divine timing, okay? And the reason why these tests are happening is because it is still part of the refinement process. And so, in using wisdom of walking away from trying to attain a certain level, you're allowing the Creator to open that door for you to what is meant for you in that divine timing through your existence, through just journeying to your next destination without knowing where you're going. You may only be able to see a step ahead, and it's okay. It's really beautiful in only being able to see a step ahead. I was gonna say, is there a dog? I'm in the library, y'all. Love my background today. There's lights, they just need to be turned on. Showtime. So, back to the point or the title of this video, are you bearing fruit? Is your garden bearing fruit? You know, these tests that you're going through at this particular moment is requiring a certain level of strength, okay? And the strength is to make the wise decisions rooted in discernment and in divinity, right? Instead of doing the same actions, right, that led you to a place of despair, of trauma, and escapist behaviors, right? And so in your garden bearing fruit, they gave me this really, really beautiful, it was like a download that was truly just deposited into my spirit. And this download was a mango. I was eating a mango, and all of a sudden the mango turns into this baby cow. I wasn't eating the baby cow, okay? I was literally eating the mango, not eating the baby cow. It just changed really fast. And so something was like, oh, basically, like, now it's time for the cow to get slaughtered. And I'm like, oh no. Well, first of all, I'm like, we're going to put the cow like into where it needs so it can flourish. And so as I'm sitting, processing the dream, the download came to me of consume things that have fruit. So the dream was the message, but then or the visual of it, but then the message from that dream was deposited into my spirit as I was processing it when I woke up. So I say that to say that if you are consuming meat, and this isn't specifically for diet, right? But I'm gonna use diet as an example. And if this resonates, please apply it to your life. If you are consuming meat, if you are consuming animal products, if you are consuming flesh, right? Once that's dead and gone, it does not produce an offspring. Okay? It cannot produce offspring, right? Unless it's in a farm, it's being tortured, it's being like basically shocked to mate, right? And that's not excuse me, I'm trying to think of the word, bearing fruit that's going to last, right, for generations, that's going to keep producing. Once you eat a cow, once you eat any type of animal flesh, you are taking that life of that being and cutting it short. And in cutting it short, that life cannot live. When you are taking a fruit, right, something that has seeds in it, okay, and you are consuming that in its death or in its demise, right, that seed then gets replanted. And that seed either, has like a shrub, some types of vines or a tree. And a tree sprouts up from the ground. And now it gives a lot more life. It has descendants that's bearing fruit. And they all have the ability to now also bear fruit. And this is a cycle that keeps and continuously repeats over and over throughout the generations. So what are you pouring into your spirit? What are you pouring into your garden? Is it going to bear fruit to your descendants, to those that come from you, okay? The generations that come after you? Are you teaching healthy ways to your elders, okay? To the ancestors? And of course, the elders are here to teach us, but you know what? As someone who is in the middle stages, I understand that we can learn, from even our youngsters. You never want to be someone who feels like you know everything, that you are stopping your growth, right? And you always want the descendants from you to take it further than you ever did. So yes, we are here to teach and expand all of those in connection with us, if they're willing to receive it. So are you pouring into your garden? Are you allowing yourself to tap into that strength to sit here and say, I am no longer going to keep repeating those cycles that kept me in a disempowered state, that kept my ancestors in a disempowered state? Am I creating healthier habits and healthier pathways for my descendants to follow? So now they can be like the mango seed that's planted and it take roots into the ground, and it may take a couple years for it to actively sprout and now really give fruit. But then it's going to keep going and going, and it's just an endless well of health. It's an endless well of roots within the ground that last a lifetime, that can weather the storms. And if you are consuming meat, if you are operating from that standpoint of degradation, where now you are taking a life, okay, and it's not bearing fruit, or operating in your life, okay, I'm using the diet as a standpoint, and I do believe, again, our body is a garden. How you're going to tend to it, if you are consuming, animal products, animal flesh, you're going to most likely be dealing with diseases, because death begets death, inflammation, your life is probably going to be ended quicker than it needs to, or it's not going to be as fulfilling, right? Your mobility is probably going to start being impacted. There's going to be different things, and this is what's being presented, to us. We have the Eight of Swords. I feel like this is bondage. This is saying don't go back, to those behaviors. And I feel like the reason why this is kind of saying don't go back, to those behaviors, that have bound the ancestors, is because there's some of you that may not be seeing the destination just yet on this journey, and you're like, you know what, I've done all this, I've let go of everything, why isn't my life turning around? Maybe I should just go, do what I want, have, escapist behaviors, go have a fun time. That's only going to beget death. That's only going to beget bondage. But understand that there's some of you who are so divinely protected, okay? You have the Emperor. The Emperor to me is speaking to the divine, to our guardians, to the ancestors for the highest good, those that work with us to give us that strength, to pull on that strength, to make sure that we see this journey through. Because this journey, one, it's really, really beautiful. And in seeing this journey through, collective, you are going to see death to, your enemies. And I'm not saying enemies like, oh, someone's going to physically die, but die to the spiritual attacks, okay, that have been, coming after you. They can no longer reach you. You're not a vibrational match, okay? Death to self, right? This is the burial process, where that version of self can no longer come into fruition. That version of self is no longer in existence. And as you are doing this death process, guess what's reborn? The star. You are born, excuse me, I shouldn't have shown that, as the authentic version of self, okay? And you are now operating from a state of divinity, in alignment with divinity. You are operating from a state of knowing self to the deepest levels of exploration, and you are tending to your garden, right? I'm gonna cover her up because I shouldn't have shown that in the first place. But you see, she's pouring water, pouring water, and also pouring water, onto the land, into the land, while she's being blessed by the divine, and this is what's happening as you make the right choices. Honestly, this message, it was like, oh, I'm gonna only start consuming, things that have seeds. I was like, because this message was so powerful. And now they're taking out the seeds from grapes. Yeah, seedless watermelons, seedless grapes. They're poisoning the crops, right? Are you going to allow your crops to be poisoned? Are you going to allow yourself to eat of the dead flesh that took the life of another being for your pleasures? Spirit is saying, don't go back to those ways that were harmful to your bloodline, that were harmful to your ancestors, that were even harmful to you, because you being the generational cycle breaker, right, and breaking those generational cycles, now you're also creating these pathways. Are you creating the pathways that are leading the bloodline back into despair or into freedom? And I'm going to sit here and say it's important for some of y'all to, I'm going to say everybody, to do a parasite cleanse. And as I said everybody, it was 2022. And do a parasite cleanse. And please, look, it's wormwood, black walnut, and cloves. And you want to use a binder, which is like, you can use activated charcoal. Because otherwise, like heavy metals, because as the parasites are dying, heavy metals and things like that, the toxins are being released into your system. And I'm doing a parasite cleanse, and I have not gotten the binder. And I'm telling you, because I went to school for massage therapy, your feet are like a roadmap to your body. And where my intestines are just like under stress, okay? Because I know they're dying, but like the heavy metals, certain things are also being reabsorbed into the intestines. So I need to get me a binder, okay? But get yourself, do those do those 3 herbs, and you can actually get them really well from like Forest Hills on Etsy, for like 30 something bucks for like 200 pills. If you take 2 of them a day for 30 days, okay, you still have about two more parasite cleanses within that bottle. Okay, so you can share it with someone else. If you consume meat, please do yourself a favor and do the parasite cleanse. Do not forget the activated charcoal. This is going to be very crucial for you in this process. And so, the star, I just want to sit here and say the star coming out, this is you being so busy that you're tending to your garden, that ultimately what's meant to align with you aligns with you. You are bearing fruit for your descendants, you are bearing fruit for those around, and you are also showing others how to cater to their vessel. It is very, very much important, to cater to your vessel. I'm not trying to, this is not a message of trying to preach to someone to change their diet, even though if you are on this path, you know that it's important to have control over your willpower, and that your willpower doesn't, it's important to have your willpower in check, right? Where you're in alignment with your willpower. And, these parasites or these other things that try to pull on you to consume the dairy, to consume the animal products, are not running you rampant, that you make decisions based off of impulsivity. Okay? You want to have control and to say over your diet for your health, not your diet running you. And if it is running you, then that means that more than likely you have a parasitic infestation that needs to be cleansed out. I don't know anyone who's going to be comfortable with parasites, but you know what? Apparently, most of the world is, whether it's through ignorance or not. And you start to feel a lot better, because the medical industry will never tell you that all these issues, whether it's cancers, whether it's viruses, all these things, they're actively rooted in parasites. And so you cleanse the parasites out, you don't have these problems. Now again, that's why the 8 of Swords. Are you going back to behaviors? If anything can control you, okay, whether it's controlling your actions, whether it's controlling your thoughts, whether it's controlling your diet, okay, whether it's controlling your relationships, whether it's controlling your career, anything that can control you or trigger you into a response or impulsivity, my dear, it controls you. You are not at the helm of your life. And this can be very difficult for some of you to receive, and that's okay. Sometimes we need to hear the hard truth in order to make better decisions for ourselves, and it's okay if you're in a place where something's controlling you. Right now, there's no judgment. It's saying have a certain level of awareness where now you can make these changes. And it's not that it's going to be a drastic change overnight, but you can take steps to now be the one operating your vessel. okay? And in being the one that's operating your vessel, you are taking your control back, right? I am working on a project with the divine in order to help people do just that, okay? And it's not necessarily, again, about the diet, but when you reach a certain level of spirituality, you understand that you're not trying to stuff your face all the time. You actually want to feel lighter. Feeling lighter, that's the goal, to feel lighter into your body, into your spirit, into your mind. And in being lighter, you can access higher realms. You can speak more freely with your ancestors. You can speak more freely with your loved ones on the other side. You can be in tune with the spirit world. But how can you be in tune with the true essence of reality when you are so boggled down by the heaviness, when your garden is filled with dead carcasses instead of seeds that are seeping into the soil while the rain nourishes it and allows it to sprout and bear fruit for generations to come? And it will beget something that will just continue forever if this is the pattern that is being established. Because you are not bringing in death. Diet is one of the things, but you don't go and say, oh, I'm eating steak and pork and just turn around and become raw vegan overnight. This is a process that takes years because it can be very toxic and jarring to the system and the physical body. And so, me and the divine, we're working together to bring it all full circle, because there are loved ones that some of you miss that are on the other side, and you think that you can't have communication with them and that you're just looking at them through a photo. Oh, look, and the King of Wands was there. But that you're just looking at them through a photo, okay? And that's not the case. You can actively see spirit, hear spirit, commune with spirit. But you can't do so if you're in a heavy state. It can't do so if your spirit is in a heavy state. Before we even get into the aspect of the body, and I do believe that everything in this works tandem together, you need to be able to lighten the mind, lighten the spirit, lighten your heart. Allow your heart to be filled with love. And then, if you are too boggled down by traumas and other things and pains and hurts, let's work on that first. And then we'll work on your diet. We'll work on your healing. Really, we should be working on it in tandem, But again, you're not going to go from eating pork to, just eating raw fruits and vegetables. Maybe cut out the pork. If you can't cut it out completely, okay, let's eat it less, right? And then you gradually walk yourself to the ideal version of self, where now you can be communicating with the ancestors, with your loved ones on the other side. For me, it's been this process. I've been on this journey for years. I tell you that even if I eat processed foods, I feel heavy. I don't want it. I'm just like, I need to feel lighter. I don't want sugar, it's like, I don't want sugar, I don't want oil, I don't want processed foods, and my body is saying fruits and vegetables, but seeded now. And it's like, oh, now we're at seeds. It's like, this is where we're growing. And I love this whole transformation process that I've been going through for years. Collective, I've been going through this to help you, okay, also be able to go through it. So now it's not where you got to go, find a spiritual consultant, find a spiritual leader. As I do consider myself a spiritual leader, it's the position that I've been blessed by the divine to have. And, I'm leading myself first. I can't lead anyone else if I can't lead myself to clear waters and to drink of these waters to create this beautiful oasis. Anyone that you are choosing to get spiritual services from, please let them be an example of where you want to be next. Where you want to go. I truly believe, why am I going to get services from someone who isn't doing better than me spiritually? And in reality, in my journey already, I'm seeking it from the divine, from the creator, from the all that it's all. I'm constantly choosing to refine myself. This is when we're speaking about our garden. Is your garden bearing fruit? Are you bearing fruit, collective? And I don't feel like this is just like the energies for the week. I feel like this is just a message that Spirit wants to give for the week, because there's some of you who are still going through your tower moments and you don't understand what to do next. Don't rebuild off of fear and disempowering cycles. Venture knowing that it's going to lead you to your abundance, that you're going to be watching your abundance coming in, and it is going to require that strength of you. But you have the divine. The divine is there to guide you, your ancestors, to allow you to go through this death process willingly, but where your spiritual attacks stop. Okay, and you're able to come into the moment of the star where you're able to tend to your garden and you are flourishing beautifully. You are blooming in every season, and you are leaving behind the aspects of you that no longer are willing, or not even willing. You are leaving behind the aspects of you that no longer serve you, the aspects of you that have kept you in a state of distress, in a state of despair, in a state of immense sadness. And there are some of you that are dealing with sadness, but you're allowing yourself to process, you're allowing yourself to bloom through the sadness. You understand that those tears are actively watering your garden, and in that you're allowing these tears that are releasing the pain to actually actively transform in the light of day. I'm not sitting here and saying that this journey is going to be easy. I'm not sitting here saying that this journey is going to be one, oh, where it's all whimsical. Honey, if your spiritual journey is all whimsical and it is easy, you are not doing it correctly. Because there is actively dark nights of the soul, and it's not sometimes nights, sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, and it can feel like years where it's just back to back to back to back. You get breaks in between. I have thought that I was genuinely losing my mind. I was crying to spirit in moments where I was like, I cannot take this no more. Spirit had me, I was homeless on a beach. Getting rid of everything. And one time Spirit was like, you want to see how much you mean to the divine? And they're like, get rid of everything. I'm living on the street at this point, on the beach. I had 3 outfits at this point that, told me to get rid of all the blankets, the tent, everything, the book bag. I get rid of everything. And this night, I'm in the shopping center of Malibu, and there's, this worker, whether on purpose or not, this male worker, he leaves the bathroom door open. I have, pants on, yoga pants, my cycle comes on. I have a very thin jacket. It's very cold because of the mist coming in. And I'm laying on this bathroom floor, which is already cold. And I'm being shown that I'm going brachycardic. Okay, I am basically dying because of how cold it is. Okay, my body cannot sustain this. And so I get up and I start bawling. I'm like, Spirit, I can't, I just genuinely can't take it no more. And they sent someone into my life that was like, you know what, come back out, I'll help you, just come back. I need to know that you're okay. And because I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm like, Spirit's telling me to get rid of everything. And I told the Creator, I said, when I started this journey, when Spirit was like, you're gonna be on the road, I said, God, I said, whatever, this leads me to, I was like, even if it's death, I was like, I will, I will face it. But freezing to death is not a fun way to go. So I say all that to say that some of you are in your tower moment, and it's okay if you're in your tower season, and or if it's that you're even in your journeying season, to the next phase of your evolution. The Creator has you. Take care, y'all. From me and Spirit. Peace.